Welcome to Me Financial, the podcast designed to inspire your financial life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I am Michelle Moses, your host. I'm a certified financial planner and licensed realtor, and thank you so much for listening. Today, we are going to talk about how IRA contributions have changed. There was a new law that was passed, I wouldn't say new now, but in 2019, and it is requiring beneficiaries to take all of the money out of an IRA within 10 years. And I'm going to explain why this is such a huge deal. So if you are a retiree, or if you're listening and you are 40 plus and you have elderly parents, I really think that you need to listen to this. Because these are some big changes that could save you could cost you a lot in taxes. Or if you're listening, that could save you a lot in taxes. So the Secure Act was passed in 2019 and, it was a huge tax overhaul. And the way that I would give the synopsis is it gave a lot of businesses tax breaks. It raised our taxes slowly over 4 or 5 years. And one of the other major changes, and it also changed the way trusts were handled. And then it also made this change to IRAs. And essentially what this says is that if you inherit an IRA from like your parent, if you're more than 10 years younger than the IRA owner, you need to take out the money within 10 years. Obviously, they have a few little exceptions to this rule if you are a dependent, like if you are special needs, but there are very few exceptions. So if you are 10 years younger than the owner of an IRA, you need to get all the money out within 10 years. And when this passed, I was super angry. I thought, because everybody usually, when you get an IRA, you stretch it out over your lifetime and then maybe even pass it on to your kids or to whoever you were going to give it to. And so it provided income for your lifetime. And so you need to think about what this did is a lot of people that are inheriting these IRAs are usually 50 to 65 years old when their parents are passing away. And those are prime money making years. That's when you are making the most amount of money and you are going to be inheriting this IRA. And then you have to have all the money out within 10 years. And thinking about the older generation, what they did was they put all their money into a 401k. So it's not like it is now where we're like, let's do a Roth, let's do an IRA, let's have some real estate. They were taught to put everything into a 401k, and which is then like an IRA. And because of this, they have these very large IRA accounts that are going to be inherited. Giving it to a husband and wife, not a big deal, right? They can still operate just along the old rules, still take the money out the way that they used to. But if you inherit one of these and you are a child, your parents passed away, your last parent, and you inherit an IRA and you have to get this money out in 10 years and you're 55 years old and you're making, the most money you've ever made in your life, what are you going to do? Are you going to stop working for a year so that you can take all of that out? Are you going to stop working for 2 years so you can take it all out? I mean, we are talking some huge, huge tax penalties just for passing away and having a lot of money in an IRA. And so I get it why they passed it because they needed to pay for all these tax cuts. But when I think about what this is going to do to future generations and the way that inheriting IRAs has helped different clients that I've worked with, it almost breaks my heart because having money makes the worry that goes with money, right? And having that go away when you inherit something and you're able to stretch out an IRA and know that you're going to have some money every single year from this IRA. There's a certain comfort that comes with that. And so to have that go away and force people to basically spend this money and take it out of these qualified accounts, then you're forcing it out and into the system. And I'm going to talk about ways that you can kind of get around it, if you will, or different ways that you could plan. But I don't think my first piece of advice with this is that the IRA is not what it used to be. And so I don't think that you should be trying to get a gigantic IRA, and the whole balance between saving taxes and putting money into some sort of qualified account, whether it's a 401k, a 403b, whatever you might have, those days are gone. I don't think that you should be maxing out and just trying to save taxes at whatever cost that there is. Because now I think that you really need to focus on trying to get your Roth IRA balance bigger. Because even if your child or your parents have a Roth IRA and you inherit it, getting it out of there is tax free. Even though you have to get it out, you're not going to have to pay taxes on it. And so that's I did a couple of weeks ago, I did a episode on backdoor Roth IRAs. And then there's other things that you can do, like mega backdoor Roth IRAs. And a lot of 401k options are offering Roth IRAs now. And in fact, it's going to become mandatory here really soon. So you should have that option. And so that's what I want you to think about is how much tax savings do you want in the IRA versus the Roth IRA? And I'm going to take this Roth IRA even further, and you'll hear me say this a lot this year in the podcast. But with the Roth IRA, you can put the money in, you're not going to get the tax deduction, but then it's going to grow tax free. And then when you get into retirement, if you can put something in there that is then spitting off some income. So let's pretend that you bought a piece of land and now you're leasing it. And so then you just take that income out of the Roth IRA every single year, and then it is tax-free income. So you'll have your Social Security, you'll have that tax-free income, and then you could take money out of your Roth or your 401k or, whatever money that you did put away that you haven't paid taxes on it yet. So it's really about mixing these different accounts together so that your income in retirement is optimized, I guess we could say, for taxes, and just optimized for control. That's the way I think about it too, is your money is never really yours until you pay taxes on it. That's the way you need to think about it. It like even on your account statement, it says IRA FBO, which means for the benefit of. It's not yours yet. It's for the benefit of you. It's not yours until you pay the taxes on it. So a Roth, you've already paid taxes on it. And then you could, as I said, get the money out in your retirement and have it be tax free. So I really think that this should be our goal, especially if you're, in your 40s and 50s, you've got the time to do this, to either do a backdoor Roth IRA every year. And I know it's only $7,000 plus the catch up. But at least it's going to add up to something. And if you had a year with maybe you were laid off or you didn't have a lot of income, maybe you could do a conversion from your IRA to your Roth. But the Roth is going to become much more important because I know that I don't want to create a gigantic IRA for my kids to then have to distribute within 10 years. I know the laws could change, but we got to work with what we have, right now. The other thing that I think that we could do instead of having these really large IRAs that I have been advising my clients on is I've been advising them to take a little bit more out every single year. So if we're taking $30,000 a year out of their IRA, I might say, hey, let's take 40 or 45. Let's just do like a little bit every single year. And what has happened too with a lot of them is that they need the cash because when you retire, right, and I know I just did a podcast about having this life freedom, but this is what it is right now for retirees, is that you retire and you have this cash, but you still have to buy cars and, air conditioners and, things that pop up like that. And you're not always going to want to go to your qualified accounts, the ones that are taxable, because there's always something in the back of your head that's like, yeah, but if I take that out to pay for the air conditioner, it's $10,000 but then I really have to take out 12 and I already took out such and such it's just good to have some cash sitting in the bank for these kinds of things. Okay. So just take a little bit extra out of your IRA every single year, even if you don't need it, to just kind of spread out the taxes. Obviously, work with your CPA if you're really concerned about taxes, about what level you should be taking them out at. But taking out another 10 or 15, I'm not sure that's really going to break the bank. And it might make a huge difference down the road if you're doing that for 15 to 20 years. The other thing that you can do with your IRA now, if you have a very large IRA right now, is doing some life insurance planning. And essentially what I'm talking, high level of this is to take money out of your IRA to pay life insurance premiums so that the beneficiary is then your kids, ideally, whoever your beneficiary would be, but would be your kids, so that they would get that tax-free income. Because so much of your IRA is going to be eaten up with taxes and having to distribute that within 10 years, that it would almost be better to just take out the money, pay a life insurance policy, and then they just get tax-free income of whatever the death benefit is of that life insurance policy. I don't love life insurance all the time, but there's certain places where it does fit. And I do have other episodes, and I will reference them in the show notes about I give the basics of some of the life insurance options. I do think if you have everything in the market, maybe getting a whole life policy would be good, because by the time you get pretty old, you're not going to want to buy a term. It's really expensive. That I do cover how to do like max funding and putting money into a life insurance policy. And I think buying a whole life policy, something that if your parents live until they're 95 years old, you're going to want something that's in place, and that the premiums are not going up and down every 5 years and things like that. So I really want, if you guys are thinking about these IRAs and you've had that mentality of I'm just going to save taxes and put money in there, you need to rethink that. Because everything has changed with the Secure Act being passed and getting that money out in 10 years. And it is becoming more of a strategic game of using all of these different financial products in different ways so that you obviously don't have to pay all those taxes. I'm not opposed to paying some taxes, but if you have $1 million IRA and you have to get that out in 10 years and you're making $250,000 a year plus stock option bonuses and, your restricted stock units and, there's like a lot of things that could be happening. You could even have a rental by that time. You're not going to want to take out all of that money, $100,000 a year out of an IRA that is probably also going to be growing in the stock market over those 10 years. That is not something that you're going to want to do. And so planning some of these things, and I think I'm going to do a separate episode on exactly maybe some examples of how to do the life insurance option. That one is a lot more complicated just because you need to estimate the taxes and what years you're going to be taking that money out of the IRA. And so I think that would be better to just have that as a separate episode down the road. But I just wanted to put those things out there that we have completely changed the game with the Secure Act. And I want you to be aware of it because this 10-year change was not covered in the media very well. I searched and searched when this was passed and it was not covered. I did another episode on that. And again, I'm going to link all these episodes in the show notes so that if you would like to go back and listen to the one about life insurance, or you'd like to listen to the different Secure Act ones where we just go over the act in general, and this change with the 10-year rule, you could listen to that too. So let me know if you have any questions about this, if you want me to run through any scenarios. I do have some packages now that, we could just do an hourly thing or something like that to run through it and to see what you needed to do. And I hope you spread the word, and thank you so much for listening. Please leave a review if you have a moment. You can scroll down and just leave a starred review. I would really appreciate it. It would help the algorithm. And let me know if you have any topic suggestions. I appreciate you listening. Thank you.